chant. It is the loose leaf page entitled Invocation of the Names of the Bodhisattvas. Please feel free to follow along or participate however you feel comfortable. Thank you. We invoke your name, Avalokiteshvara. We aspire to learn your way of listening in order to help relieve the suffering in the world. You know how to listen in order to understand. We invoke your name in order to practice listening with all our attention and open-heartedness. We will sit and listen without any prejudice. We will sit and listen without judging or reacting. We will sit and listen in order to understand. We will sit and listen so attentively that we will be able to hear what the other person is saying and also what is being left unsaid. We know that just by listening deeply, we already alleviate a great deal of pain and suffering in the other person. We invoke your name, Manjushri. We aspire to learn your way, which is to be still and to look deeply into the heart of things and into the hearts of people. We will look with all our attention and open-heartedness. We will look with unprejudiced eyes. We will look without judging or reacting. We will look deeply so that we will be able to see and understand the roots of suffering and the impermanent and selfless nature of all that is. We will practice your way of using the sword of understanding to cut through the bonds of suffering, thus freeing ourselves and other species. We invoke your name, Samantabhadra. We aspire to practice your vow to act with the eyes and heart of compassion, to bring joy to one person in the morning and to ease the pain of one person in the afternoon. We know that the happiness of others is our own happiness, and we aspire to practice joy on the path of service. We know that every word, every look, every action, and every smile can bring happiness to others. We know that if we practice wholeheartedly, we ourselves may become an inexhaustible source of peace and joy for our loved ones and for all species. We invoke your name, Kshitigarbha. We aspire to learn your way of being present where there is darkness, suffering, oppression, and despair, so we can bring light, hope, relief, and liberation to those places. We are determined not to forget about or abandon those in desperate situations. We will do our best to establish contact with those who cannot find a way out of their suffering, those whose cries for help, justice, equality, and human rights are not being heard. We know that hell can be found in many places on earth. We will do our best not to contribute to creating more hells on earth, and we will help transform the hells that already exist. We will practice in order to realize the qualities of perseverance and stability, so that, like the earth, we can always be supportive and faithful to those in need. We invoke your name, Sada Paribhuta. We aspire to learn your way of looking deeply with the eyes of non-discrimination in order to see the true qualities of others. Whenever you meet anyone, you bow respectfully and say in appreciation, I respect you deeply. You are a future Buddha. We vow to look deeply into ourselves, to recognize the positive qualities that are there, to accept and to love ourselves. We vow only to water positive seeds in ourselves and those around us. By doing so, our thoughts, words, and deeds will give rise to self-confidence and acceptance of ourselves, our children, grandchildren, and all those we know. We vow to look deeply with the eyes of non-discrimination to see that the joy and success of the other person is also our joy and success. We vow to behave and to speak with humility and respect. We vow to practice loving speech to help people who underestimate themselves see that they are wonders of the universe. We know that only when we are able to transcend the barriers of a separate self shall we be able to transform the superiority, inferiority, and equality complexes and realize true happiness and freedom.
We will now continue to observe noble silence.
At this time, I'd like to invite our incense lighters. Inside of your booklets, you will find the incense offering chant that we will recite together. And together we say, in gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding, slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. We bow. Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter. It's good to see you all. Normal announcements for those. Do we have anybody who's first time to the temple today? First Sunday service, welcome. So I'll go through these. If you need to use your restrooms, they're just on the other side of this wall, or there's also one downstairs. There's usually a water fountain working downstairs, but recently with the water alerts that came through, we have to figure out how to change the filter. So we haven't been able to do that quite yet. But there is a pitcher of water downstairs that came from the filter upstairs. So there's ways that we're making sure water is available for you. And if you need it, you're welcome to get up at any time during the service, even during the meditation, to do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Reminder to not walk across the front of the dais, just from the perspective that we've got viewers tuning in online, and it blocks the view of things. And I think beyond that, just remember to be alive when you chant. I know it's early, it's Sunday. Yes, we'd like to be sleeping in, but be here and try to invigorate what you're chanting about as we go through these chants this morning. So with that, let's go ahead and stand up and say good morning to everyone. Well, quietly, silently say hello to everyone. And pick up your chant box if you need it. Otherwise, if you've got it memorized, you're good. Page 7. We're going to be reciting the refuge. I'm sorry, the 3 refuges. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. And on the next page, we will recite the Mahaprajnaparamita Hridaya Sutra, the Heart Sutra. The Paramita. Perceive the emptiness of all five skandhas, and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering. No cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one which is final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant peerless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisattva. Dhamma prajna paramita hridaya sutra.
That was really beautiful. That last one, as soon as you jumped up, I started hearing that harmony. That was it really like locked in. I got goosebumps. It was really great. I didn't want to stop. It was like, can we just like hang out and just like repeat the last part over and over? It was really lovely. Thank you for that. So good morning, everyone. Great to see you all. If you find an Easter egg, please take it. There's chocolate in them. Dark chocolate. There may or may not be more, or some downstairs. Hang out after service. So, good morning. Before we jump in, I want to hear about your spiritual homework if anybody feels like sharing. If you were here last week or listened to service online last week, at the end of the meditation, I invited everyone to engage in some spiritual homework, Buddhist homework, emptiness homework, wake upist homework, whatever you want to call it. And just as a reminder, it was to catch a mental affliction and then rejoice when you notice it and see if you can remain like a bump on a log. Did anybody have a moment like this in the past week where they were like, I'm going to have a knee-jerk reaction? And maybe you did have that reaction. Maybe you didn't remain like a bump on a log, but then afterwards, immediately you were like, I did it, didn't I? I gave into the affliction and then rejoiced after catching yourself. And if anybody's like nervous to share, I can start. Oh, yes. Oh, let's get you a microphone if we can.
Always family issues, especially with elderly relatives. They kind of take you back 40 years and there it is. So
Past,
I had
present, and
lots of
future.
opportunities this week to practice that.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Thank you, sir. I noticed a mental affliction while I was at work, as one often does. It's been stressful at the casino because I lost my headphones and the casino's loud. So I get overstimulated. And I noticed how irritable and cranky I was getting towards my coworkers when I'm normally not like that. And I was so happy that I caught myself before I said or did anything nastier than... And I remembered to take a deep breath too. Big step for me.
It's wonderful. Anyone else?
Thank you. Neighbor, it has to do with a neighbor. I have a small dog, a Opso. And at springtime, not only is it muddy, but her name is Kuan Yin. She's trying to dig under my neighbor's fence. And my neighbor very politely but very firmly said, your dog is not invited in my yard. And that's reasonable. But I wanted to say something. I mean, that was my first, but I had an opportunity to practice and not. And I said, don't worry, it'll be taken care of. And we left it at that and felt real good. Thank you.
You successfully stayed like a bump on a log. Okay, I'm going to close it up here and move on to the second part of this teaching. So we talked about mental afflictions. I'll probably review that a little bit later on in the talk. But I'd like to move on to what's known as the 6 perfections. And in the texts, you can really say there's 10 perfections. And these perfections are ordered in a various amount of ways. And the reason that they're ordered in different ways is because different teachers have used them in different stages to reach towards enlightenment. So the reason that I'm going to be teaching them in this way, or in the order that we teach them, is because it's the way that Shantideva taught them. So Master Shantideva, who is the author of the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, which is the book that our bodhisattvas are studying right now, gave these in a particular order for a reason. And that's kind of what this talk is going to be about. So first, what are the 6 perfections? Does anybody know what the first one is? We talk about it every week. No? I know, it's right. It's your first Sunday. It's Dana. It's generosity. Yeah. So the very first perfection is giving or sharing. What about the second perfection? I'm like looking at my bodhisattvas like, and I know Alex won't be here, so it's just the two of you. This one, it catches me up. Like, it's always caught me up. This is the one where I just have had a hard time remembering it. Do you remember? No. It is one of the that is one of the perfections. We're just not there yet. I'll give it to you. It's ethical living or moral efforts. Okay, so it's the way that you live in the world. It's practicing, essentially, right? And then, I'm sorry, the next one is patience. It's the third one. And then what comes after patience? When you have patience, if you imagine if you could have patience for everything in the world, oh, what a skill. What would result? No, that's actually not one of the perfections. But it is a result of all the perfections. Not yet. Joyful effort. Joyful effort. So you got a lot of patience. You're going to be able to do things with much more joy because you won't be battling with that voice in your head that's like, oh, I don't wanna. And then once you have joyful effort, I mean, imagine there's days when you don't want to sit down and meditate and you're like, oh, I gotta get up and meditate. I have to sit there and train my mind to try to get these thoughts to sort themselves out and figure out what is going on in my mind space. As my teacher would say, it's trying to sort the garbage. So that's what comes next is meditative concentration. And that is keeping your mind focused on what you want it to be focused on, like one of the 6 perfections. And then that results in wisdom. So this is how you learn what brings you less suffering. Why are they called the perfections? Does anybody know why? It's kind of a twofold answer. In the mind of an enlightened being, these are the things that they've perfected. These are the things that they've used to get to an enlightened state of mind, to liberation, to be free of suffering. And then they're also called perfections because when you make that commitment to go to refuge and to do it with others in mind, to make your mind, to clean up your mind space, to not be suffering so much, to notice your mental afflictions and do something about it and try not to react in that way, you are working on the perfections. Okay. So when we do that, when we have this idea that I don't want to suffer anymore, right? That's one of the reasons why you're here. You know that things aren't working, and you'd like to understand how to work through them, how to get by, right? Or in this case, how to have a life with less suffering. And when you do that, the first thing is you find renunciation, and renunciation for your suffering. You're like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. This sucks. It doesn't have to be this way. And then when you develop bodhicitta, it's renunciation, but it's renunciation for other people. So it's knowing that, okay, if I can get rid of my suffering, and I've practiced a little bit, I've tried the hat on, I've played a little bit, I've noticed my own mental afflictions and gone like, wow, that things don't really have to be that way. And then all of a sudden the scope widens and you go, it doesn't have to be that way for you either. And it doesn't have to be that way for you either. And you, and, the bug on the wall and the dog digging under my fence, it doesn't have to be like that for anybody. And that's when you develop this wish to see others free of suffering. But you can't do that until you also work on your own suffering. It's a balanced thing. It's not like I'm only going to do this for other people and not for myself. You'll never get very far in the perfections if you try to do it that way. You have to be able to do it for yourself in tandem of doing it with everybody else. There's actually three analogies that they use. One is, and I think I can only remember two of them. One is called behaving like a ferryman, which is where you take everybody with you on the boat across to suffering. Then there's one that's the sheep herder or shepherder, where you get everybody together in a flock, and it's kind of like the ferryman. It's kind of the same way. And so, you move everybody along to get to the same place together. And then there's a third one, and I can't remember what it is. It might be, I think it might be the Kingsman or something along those lines. So I'm not quoting this like absolutely perfectly, but that's where the king-like wish, that's what it is. Where you are like, I'm going to get to suffer. Sorry, that's not what I meant. I'm going to work my mind towards enlightenment. I will reach enlightenment, and then I'm going to come back and lead everybody else towards enlightenment. So there's different ways to get there. Not one of them is right. It's just which one's going to work for you. Okay. And so that's the idea of bodhicitta. Okay. So when you've been practicing for a reasonable amount of time and you understand that there is a way out of suffering, you develop this feeling for renunciation, this feeling for bodhicitta. And we think that if I can understand where things are really coming from, then I can choose to experience every moment as it really is, right? Which is the teaching on emptiness. Is this a mallet or is it a chew toy? Which is it? Okay. And so once we're able to do that, we can expand our scope to include everybody else. And it's taught that there are two wings to bodhicitta. And it's said that it's essential to have this understanding of wisdom. Okay, wisdom is one wing. You can't really have a one-winged bird. They don't fly very well. And that's emptiness. It's understanding where things are really coming from and being able to do that all the time. And then the other wing is compassion, right? So this is wanting others to be free from their suffering too. So that's the ingredients for bodhicitta, okay, for the wish for enlightenment for all beings. Samke Pani Shendun Chier Yangdak Dzogpe Jangchubde, which is the Tibetan way to say the wish for all beings to become enlightened. Now, Lord Maitreya, who is one of the Buddhas that will be, okay, it's hard to say whether Maitreya is a Buddha or a Bodhisattva, but at this point, I guess, if we're looking at it in reality, they haven't come to this earth or this plane yet. Okay, that's kind of what the traditions say. And when they do come, they will be the next Buddha. And Lord Maitreya defines bodhicitta as that, the wish to attain total enlightenment for the sake of all beings. And they use the word total enlightenment because there are stages to enlightenment. So they want to be very specific that you got to get enlightened. You got to go all the way. You can't just kind of go there and then help other beings. I mean, you really have to go there. It's like saying, like, I've taken one ballet class, so now I'm a master in ballet. Right? I'm not going to be able to teach people very well if I've only taken one ballet class, right? Even if I've taken 2 years of ballet, still not going to be a master. It takes a long time, right? So get practicing, okay? If you don't start now, when are you going to start? So there's two ways to have, to maintain this wish for bodhicitta, the wish for all beings to become enlightened. And one is in the form of a prayer. And this is like the mental thoughts of the actions of thinking like, I would really like to see a world with less suffering. I want to see when I walk down the street that people are taking care of each other, that I am seeing the possibilities of the way that I could be acting in a world where I can make the world a better place, even in small actions, very small actions, like smiling at someone. As we chanted in our morning bell chant, I believe it's when we get to Samantabhadra. Every word, every look, every action, every smile can bring happiness to others. So challenging yourself when you're in those moments of, discomfort or feeling self-existent, or putting your feelings and thoughts and words and things on things that are creating some kind of story that doesn't have to be true, right? So you make that decision to move your mind towards an enlightened place. Then the next way of working towards to maintain this wish for enlightenment is in the wish of action. Okay. And that means, so like prayer is like preparing to go on a trip. It's like making the plans. And then action is like actually going on the trip. You're doing the thing that you plan to do. Okay. So it's like learning and executing. Okay. The prayer is learning how to follow through with this wish. It's observing, it's making the mental movements to say, I want to do this. And then the action is the actual doing it part, reducing suffering in the world for the sake of all beings. And we do this through the 3 doors of expression. Does anybody know what those are? Body, speech, and mind. Okay. Action, words, and thoughts. That's how we do it. Whenever we bow, that's an action. Whenever we recite sutra, or whenever we recite a gatha or a mantra or whatever it is, that's through word. Okay. And thoughts, even just moving your mental, your mind, your attention to say, oh, that was a mental affliction, and I'm seeing the emptiness of it, right? How often can you do that, and how much more can you do that in your life? And so we do that in line with the 6 perfections. Okay. And as the tradition that I'm studying in, there is nothing less than this wish that can move you towards enlightenment. If your goal is to have a life free of suffering, you have to have this wish. You can't get there without it. You have to be able to say that I want to move my mind towards a life of less suffering for both myself and others. It's required. Okay. So it's this wish that gives us the ability to propel not just ourselves, but any being towards a lifetime of benefiting others. It allows a limitless mass of sentient beings to attain the highest form of happiness. And once you have this wish, it's through the practice of the 6 perfections that you are able to move further along the path. And the logic to the order of the 6 that are presented is that when we're able to give freely, when we're practicing that perfection of giving, we develop an ethical life. Ethics lead to the natural development of patience. You don't have anger arising. You're able to experience things as they really are. You can measure this by how much you don't get afflicted by things. And that leads to joyful effort. And joyful effort leads to an increase in concentration. You're able to make stronger efforts in the Dharma and to increase your single-pointed focus. Then meditation leads to wisdom. And in wisdom, you're able to have the direct perception of emptiness, which is a difficult thing to do and takes many years of practice. But the more wisdom that you can put into the other 5 perfections, the faster that you can develop as a bodhisattva, as somebody who's able to help others wake up in the world. And we're getting close to the end here. So I'm going to rush through these. I wish I could spend more time on this. As Master Shantideva discusses this in the book of the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, generosity. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple quotes that come directly from the book and speak on them shortly. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on generosity because that is the very first thing you have to perfect in order to move on to the rest of the perfections. Okay. Chapter 5, verse 10, the perfection of giving is interpreted simply as a state of mind due to the intention of giving away everything together with the fruits of that to all people. So Gyaltsab Dharma Rinchen, who was a student of Je Tsongkhapa's, writes in his commentary, Entry Point for the Children of the Victorious Buddhas, therefore, it was spoken that the culmination of the perfection of giving occurs when one has perfectly accustomed oneself to the kind of thought where one wishes to give all that one has, one's body, one's possessions, and the total sum of one's good deeds, along with the power of virtue that results from giving these things away to every living being. This is then why it's because of this that giving is only something that depends upon a state of mind. And so generosity means to take these good things that you've done and to be able to give them away to other people. Okay? It means being able to see opportunities to help, knowing that when you are able to give, you're able to reduce suffering in the world. Do you know why we give offerings to the Buddha? Do you think a Buddha needs offerings? No. It's for us. The Buddha is providing an opportunity for you to practice generosity, providing an opportunity for you to perfect that perfection. So every time you meet somebody who is, by the way, a Buddha, they just don't know it yet, you are giving yourself that opportunity to practice that wisdom, practice that perfection. And so there are different things that you can offer as gifts, as offerings, as your generosity that doesn't have to be something physical. In the texts, they talk about offering things that have no owner. You can offer a sunset. You can offer the moon. You can offer the scent of a flower. You can offer your body, which means your actions, how you can serve other people. That's what we ask for in our Dana announcements, is to serve this temple in some way. If it's not financial, then in some other way. By being here early to help set up temple, you're generating those karmas to practice a life where you're able to be more generous with other people. And this is a really good place, being in temple, to start. And then the last thing is offerings that come from your mind. So our mind is an expansive place. We can get really creative. Whenever I'm in my meditations and I'm practicing the preliminaries, I usually offer my teacher, I don't know why, but chocolate comes up a lot, like dark chocolate, like the nicest dark chocolate you can find. But there are more traditional offerings. And if you haven't yet, on the basement wall on the staircase there are paintings on the wall. And there's 8 of these representations, or the symbols that represent some of these 12 traditional offerings that you can offer to a teacher or to a Buddha in your mind. And you can, in your mind, wash a holy one, like bathe their feet, which is a very traditional practice. You can offer some of the finest clothes imaginable. You can offer jewelry, scents, perfume, flowers, incense, food and drink, lamps to light the way out of darkness, mansions or paradises on earth, parasols, music, song, blessings, and prayer. And as you look on the wall, you might be able to identify which of those is which of those, but I think there's only 8 on the wall. And so through the rest of these, I'll just read the quotes, but I'm talking a lot about generosity because that is the basis of this. That is how you work towards everything else on those perfections. The next one, ethical living in morality. This is chapter 5 in the Guide to the Way of the Bodhisattva. Wandering where it will, the elephant of the mind will bring us down to pains of deepest hell. No worldly beast, however wild, could bring upon such calamities. If with mindfulness as rope, the elephant of the mind is tethered all around, our fears will come to nothing, every virtue drop into our hands. So think about this. If you're faced with an actual tiger, a bear, a lion, a tiger, that is not going to be nearly as frightening or as hard to overcome or conquer as your own mind. That's what Shantideva is saying. Shantideva is saying that you have to work on conquering this if you want to conquer anything else in the world. Okay, you won't be able to defeat a lion just with pure strength and body. Okay, you have to be able to do it with your mind as well. Okay, because this is what operates everything else. And so think about that when you do have knee-jerk reactions. Are you really working on training your mind? How are you able to move your mind in the next way? And it takes practice. It's not saying you're going to do this instantly, by the way. It's not like, oh, look, I woke up one day and I'm a Buddha now. Like, it doesn't work that way. The only way to become a master in anything, I think they say it takes over 10,000 hours to become a master in anything. And I think it comes maybe a little bit more than that when it comes to becoming a Buddha. Chapter 6 is the chapter on patience. You have patience towards those who are unkind because their ungracious behavior is directed towards someone else, but you do not have the patience towards one who disparages when he is the subject to the rising of mental afflictions. If on account of my own fault I do not practice patience here, then I myself have created an obstacle when grounds for merit have been presented. Patience is an opportunity for practice, and it comes from a deep understanding of realities, the reality of things, even when it's really hard to see the reality of things. It's being able to stop yourself before having a reaction, and then maybe even next time not having the reaction at all because you understand where things really come from. Chapter 7 is on joyful effort. One should strive to increase one's zeal with the powers of aspiration, self-confidence, delight, letting go, dedication, and determination. I must eliminate immeasurable faults for myself and others, while the eradication of every single fault may take myriads of eons. I shall eliminate my own and others' immeasurable faults, while it takes oceans of eons to eliminate each of those faults. I do not see even a fraction of a beginning of the elimination of faults. Why does my heart not burst as I am a locus of immeasurable suffering? I must acquire many good qualities for myself and others. Otherwise, the cultivation of every single good quality may not take place in a myriad of eons. Mental afflictions are their contribution to the cycle of suffering. And when we can understand reality as it really is, with patience, with that generosity, being able to live an ethical life, we are able to empower this joyful effort. And again, being able to live and operate from the lens of emptiness makes us strive to help all beings see that they are a Buddha themselves, just as the Buddha, or just as the Bodhisattva Sadapaributta does. You're a Buddha, you're a Buddha. You might not see it yet, but you're a Buddha, and keep reminding yourself of that and others of that. And the last one, which is meditative, oh no, it's not, this is not the last one, but I'll go quickly. Meditative concentration. Chapter 8, upon developing zeal in that way, one should stabilize the mind in meditative concentration. Since a person whose mind is distracted lives between the fangs of the mental afflictions. I think that one speaks for itself. Chapter 9 is the chapter on wisdom. This one is kind of difficult to find a commentary on because it has a lot of, it's packed. It's packed with a lot of things that you have to be studying for a long time to really grasp it. And we don't say that as a means of, oh, you just don't know enough. It's really more of an honest way of practicing humility, because there really is a level of understanding you have to get to with the practices before taking some of this stuff literally. And even then, you understand with wisdom how to take that literally. The Madhyamaka says, even an illusion lasts for as long as the collection of its conditions. The mind is not located in the sense faculties or in form and other sense objects or in between them. The mind is also not found inside or outside or anywhere else. As they live like this, pretending that they are not subject to aging and death, terrible calamities come, with death the foremost of them. Thus, when I might bring relief to those tormented by the fire of suffering, with the requisites of happiness springing forth from the clouds of my merit, when shall I respectively teach emptiness and the accumulation of merit in terms of conventional truth and without reification to those whose views are reified? Where is it all coming from? It's us, right? As Taylor Swift says, I'm the problem, it's me. Okay? The Lord of Death is going to come for us all. It's not avoidable. So when you meet them, what will you have accomplished? When you look back and you think of all the mental afflictions that you were able to overcome? What did you accomplish? Get there now. You don't know what's going to happen when you walk out those doors. I'd like to quote Bill Hicks. He said that life is like a ride at an amusement park. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored, and it's often very loud, and it's fun, at least for a while. But it's just a ride, and we can change it any time we want. It's only a choice right now between fear and love. And so when you take vows, when you get to that place of saying that I want to commit to living a life from the objective of bodhicitta, and when you think about it, you're vowing every Sunday. You're vowing to go to refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. You're vowing to realize the three jewels within your heart. You're vowing to understand living beings and their suffering. But this can get lost. These words can get lost. Do you really take them with you throughout your day? Do you really take them with you when you're faced with that mental affliction, going, I'm gonna, and then realize like, no, I'm not, because this is self-existent, okay? When you are fighting the garbage of your mind, are you remembering those vows? And it goes even further than that when you become a bodhisattva. You're taking other vows. You're saying, I'm going to go deeper. I'm going to make sure that suffering ends, or at least I'm going to do my best. Story of the child and the sea star, or all the different starfish on the beach. Even though it's just one starfish and there's thousands of starfish on the beach, and the old man says, well, but what are you doing? Like, you're not going to make a difference. And he throws it and says, well, I made a difference to that one. And I know that was kind of a short, maybe didn't make so much sense when I just put that all together, but I know I've told that story before, so some of you will get it. If you want to talk about it after, we can. So if we really do have this wish for bodhicitta, a wish to see all beings free from their suffering, we will use this wish as a refuge for developing our perfections. And this motivation will move our minds towards hope. This life will end. Wouldn't it be more joyful and fulfilling to live a life where we are helping beings move their minds towards nirvana rather than cutting down and criticizing one another? And with that, we will prepare for a shorter meditation. Sitting up straight, making sure that the spine is tall, hands resting in a relaxed position somewhere in your lap. Eyes closing or gently leaving slight part in them to let some light in. Take a few breaths here to ground yourself and perform a body scan, allowing the body to relax into this meditation. And bring to mind your current practice. What is the current priority in your practice? Is it generosity? Is it ethical living? Is it patience? Which of the perfections might be the main practice? take note of some of the results that have recently come up from this practice. Now bring to mind the perfection of giving, of generosity. Think of a time when you gave material things to someone who needed it. How might this have helped this person or this being? And remember how it made you feel to give. This time, think of moments when you offered protection to someone who is experiencing fear. Maybe it was a shoulder to lean on, or being there for someone in need. Maybe you took care of someone's pet while they were away, or stopped to let an animal cross the road. And just allow these moments to collect in your mind. And now, if you can, think of a specific time when you shared the Dharma or an aspect of your practice with someone who needed it. Maybe just simply encouraging another's mind to see their life through a different lens. Just like the pen isn't inherently a pen from every perception, how have you been able to help another's mind move towards emptiness or see how their actions have results? In our practice of generosity, we're creating the causes and conditions for generosity to show up in your life. And we can make this even more effective by repeating a generous act over and over, like water in a stream. We can give with strong intention, knowing that Our generosity will induce compassion and kindness. We can share our generosity with places like our temple, those who teach us, organizations that are trying to make a positive difference in other people's lives. We can give to those who have helped us greatly, or even to those we know are suffering. The act of giving leads our minds towards perfecting a moral way of life. Think about the benefits of generosity. As this meditation comes to a close, take an opportunity to dedicate this meditation to the future enlightened version of yourself. Understand with wisdom that every positive action that you take, that's within your personal capacity, that will move your mind towards a life of freedom from suffering. Slowly, step by step, the turtle will win the race. Gently adding some movement into your body. When you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Welcome back. Spiritual homework for this week. Do something nice for somebody without any expectation of getting something back. Unconditional giving. And see if you can do it, how many times you can do it. And rejoice every single time that you do, because you are training your mind to practice goodness. I could use the word karma, but I think it's kind of a loaded word for Westerners, but that's really what it means. Karma, the definition of karma is the mental movements that you make and what follows. Okay, so it's cause and result. That's all it is, right? So see what you're doing to cause goodness in the world and have no attachment to the expectation of the result. Okay, so whatever will be, as we say, que sera, sera. All right, I'm going to do these announcements quick because I know many of you probably have Easter plans, and I could have talked about 6 perfections for a lifetime, but we don't have a lifetime. We do. We just probably would like to use it in other ways. So my announcements are our board meeting. I don't think this date is right. It says Sunday, March 17th on the April announcements. Yeah, so it's the third Sunday in April. No, it's not. I think it got changed because of Father's Day, didn't it? June got changed. Just kidding. So third Sunday in April is our board meeting. I'm sure there will be a more accurate announcement next week. But if you're that curious, you can, look it up on the calendar or check out the website. That's invited for anybody's welcome to come and see the board meetings, sit in on them, experience what the board talks about. If you want to give your time to the board, I'm sure they'd be grateful for it. We have an online meditation group on Wednesdays from 7 to 7:45 on Zoom. You can contact Reverend Kunga for more information. There's a Thursday Dharma discussion group on Thursday morning from 9:30 to 11 a.m. You can email Jingsu, Reverend Jingsu, for more information. All of this is on our website. So any of these announcements you can find there if you need more information. There's a new Avantamsaka Sutra study group on Thursdays, starting April 4th, it's on Thursdays, April 4th and 18th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Zoom. Will, raise your hand. April, what? It's cool. I think your email is on here, so. Gotcha. Okay. It'll be in person. Sorry, I'm just saying it for people online. Cool. So if you want to go, this is a deeper study group. So they're going to be diving into sutras. If you're interested in joining them, it's on a couple of Thursdays. So right now it's the 4th and the 18th of April, Thursday evenings in person at the temple. And you can reach out to any number of the Dharma teachers to help get you set up with that. There's a spring silent retreat. The last one was awesome. I wish I could make it to this one, but I won't be there. But you should go because it's great. It's from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the temple. There's potluck in the middle for lunch. It's a great way to just kind of invigorate your practice and do it with other people. That's on Saturday, April 27th. Contact Kunga for more information. There are Buddhist-based recovery meetings on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at various locations. All that information's on our website, right? And newsletter. So you can always find the details of those information there. Weather notice. If there's bad weather and we're not holding temple, we'll let you know. Pretty simple. Do I have a Dana announcement today? Cool. So I'm going to give it. As you know, we ask for your generosity to support our temple, whether that's financial or giving of your time or donating items that we need for like the bathroom, or if you'd like to refill some tea downstairs, or maybe we just don't have a very good flavor that you like and you'd like to have it here on Sunday mornings and share it with others because it's a good cup of tea. Please feel free to support the temple in any way that you see that we might need. There's folks who clean every month. They come at when do they come for cleaning? Tuesday. Okay. Awesome. And that's Tuesday morning, right? Do you know what time they get here? 10 a.m. So this Tuesday, it's usually the first Tuesday of the month, right? Or usually the first Monday, right? It's usually on Tuesday. So first Tuesday of the month, they usually come in here and clean 10 a.m. You can just show up and be like, hi, I want to help. They would not say no. But in preparation for that, if we can start at the end of service, you don't need to fluff up your cushions and put them back where you found them. You can actually pick them up and put them right in there. And that'll help greatly with them as they prepare for their cleaning spree. And that will be your first point of generosity, serving your temple. Are there any other announcements? Cool. If you're interested in anything else that's going on in the temple, check out our website or reach out to someone for more information. We're happy to help you with any questions that you have. We have tea afterwards downstairs. There's also chocolate downstairs. If that doesn't entice you, some pieces have caramel in them. Just get to those first. And I may or may not have more right here. So please join us. Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful Easter, Ostara, whatever spring holiday it is that you celebrate. In our case, it's just having a Dharma talk and celebrating each other's presence. So thank you for being here and listening to my talk and going through that very short meditation. I hope you are able to have a little bit more time to yourself this afternoon. We will finish with our closing gathas. So let's go ahead and stand. And together we say, for all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. And I know we didn't get a chance to do joys and concerns this today, so if we can just take a moment to hold space for all the joyful things and not so joyful things that are happening in both people's lives in this room and around the world. And with that, we're ready to bow to one another. Thank you, everyone. Sovereign. Thank you. Is it because Jesus came back from the dead?